The Scottish Pyramid in its current state is ever changing. The current 10-tier pyramid has only been around for a couple of seasons, while relegation from the SPFL has only been in place for just over 10 years now. Another major shake-up is on the way, however, as the Lowland League is now splitting into an East and West division, meaning there will now be 3 leagues at Tier 5, with 3 champions potentially fighting for one SPFL spot. This has had a knock-on effect not only to clubs at Tier 5, but many below, so in this video I'll be covering the changes made to Tier 5, the effects it has on those in the current divisions, and what has happened to those below in the pyramid. Whilst the professional leagues have remained at 42 teams, separated in 4 leagues since the admissions of Elgin City and Peterhead back in 2000, the divisions below have seen gradual additions to the pyramid. 2013-14 however saw the Scottish Premier League and the Scottish Football League become part of the same organisation again for the first time since the old Premier Division split off in 1998, forming the Scottish Professional Football League. It was during this merger that it was decided that relegation from Tier 4 to a new Tier 5 system would start from the 2014-15 season. These were to be regional leagues, with the Highland League covering Aberdeenshire, Moray and the Highlands taking a spot which was pretty straightforward seeing as it has existed since 1893, with the Lowlands being covered by the brand new Lowland League which covered basically anywhere south of the River Tay. 2014-15 would also see the additions of promotion and relegation between Tier 6 and Tier 5, with the East of Scotland Football League and the South of Scotland Football League seeing a playoff system implemented for their champions to face each other to replace whoever finished bottom of the Lowland League as long as they held an SFA club licence. The next changes would come in 2020 when the juniors and other senior leagues finally relented and decided to become part of the full senior pyramid. This included the West Juniors becoming the West of Scotland Football League, earning promotion to the Lowland League, while relegation would finally be possible from the Highland League, with the remaining East Juniors forming the Midlands League covering Dundee, Angus and Perthshire, along with Tayport and Fife for some reason, with the remaining junior teams in the Lothians moving to the East of Scotland League. The North Region Juniors joined the pyramid, eventually renaming as the North of Scotland Football League in 2025, covering Aberdeenshire and Moray, and the North Caledonian League covering the Highlands and the only non-mainland club in the pyramid, Orkney FC. With all this set then, it seemed we finally had a proper pyramid that allowed teams to progress up the leagues. But some people weren't happy with aspects of the setup. The first issue people had, and still complain about, is the bottlenecks all these playoffs create. It's not uncommon for teams to win league title after league title, yet fail to get promoted due to facing off against teams at the same level, but from stronger leagues. Despite having 8 different winners, the South of Scotland League has only seen Edusport Academy, now Caledonian Braves, earn promotion out of the division back in the 2016-17 season, but this was down to there being no playoff, as East winners Lothian Thistle Hutchison Vale didn't have a licence. Beef were back-to-back champions in 2023 and 2024 in the West, but due to not having a licence weren't eligible for promotion. Cove Rangers are the only team to have won the Highland League and gone on to get promoted, while Club 42 has won half of these playoffs against Tier 5 champions, with Lowland League side East Kilbride needing 5 attempts to earn promotion. Whilst issues regarding promotion to the SPFL are down to a mixture of structural and skill issues, I believe the team finishing bottom of League 2 should be relegated automatically, but if you can't beat them then it is what it is, I suppose. The issues regarding Tier 6 promotions are relating to licences. Having been part of the pyramid for longer, it's no surprise that clubs in the East and South of Scotland leagues are more likely to have a licence. 14 of the 16 teams in the East of Scotland Premier currently have a licence, with 5 of the 11 teams in the South having one. The West Premier meanwhile only has 7 out of 16 licensed, the Midlands Premier has 2 of 10, the North Caledonian League has 1 of 12, while the North of Scotland has no clubs licensed, with the only one to ever have held a licence being Banks of Dee, who got promoted to the Highland League in 2022, replacing Fort William, who did have a licence, but have since not renewed it. The issue with this is mostly time and money. For a club to be licensed, they must meet certain criteria in regards to their ground, such as having adequate facilities for players and referees, medical reasons and other club staff, floodlights, separation between pitch and fans, the list goes on, along with other requirements in regards to coaching and administration. This is showcased by the lack of licensed clubs in the north, with it being revealed in a Northern Scot article that Cuta, the team that has won their past 3 North of Scotland League titles and who looks set to win another, revealing they aren't set to be ready for a licence until 2028 at the earliest. Next season and the coming years, however, is set to see an influx of new clubs getting licensed, forced by a change that fixes complaints about the region's Tier 5 leagues cover. When Brecon were facing relegation out of the SPFL, they requested that instead of being placed in the Highland League, they could instead be placed in the Lowland League, meaning they can play games against teams from the Central Belt instead of travelling to Wick and Brora. Whilst those requests were turned down, for 2026-27, their wishes will come true, as the Lowland League is now set to split into West and East. This new system now means that the Lowland West will cover teams playing in the West of Scotland and South of Scotland leagues, while the East covers teams playing in the East of Scotland and Midlands League, with the Midlands League covering Angus, which is where Brecon is. It means they will now move across to the new Lowland League East. This means the Highland League is set to drop to potentially 17 or 16 teams, if Brora get promoted, but will become 18 teams now that Invergordon are set to be promoted. Invergordon are in the process of getting themselves a licence, and seeing as they've been referred to the SFA for approval, it basically means they have it. The North Caledonian League champions were initially meant to face off against Rothes, who have only amassed 7 points from 32 games with just 1 win, which was earned in February 2026 following a winless 2025, but since has prevailed and Invergordon are going straight up instead. When it comes to the new Lowland League structure, both leagues are supposed to be made up of 16 teams. There's no relegation from this season's Lowland League, which is definitely a good thing for East Stirlingshire, who have been by far and away the worst team in the division. But for these 16 places in each league, it's unknown how many teams are getting promoted. Currently, Albion Rovers, Gretna 2008, Cumbernauld Colts and Caledonian Braves are guaranteed to be in the Westwood Clydebank, still in a title battle to potentially return to the Football League. Meanwhile, 8 are confirmed to be in the East, with there being up to 12 teams going from the current Lowland League to the East, if, say, Clydebank relegate Edinburgh City, who at this point are certain to finish bottom of League 2. What this means for the West is that it currently will see the aforementioned 4 teams, plus the 2 highest South of Scotland teams with a licence, Dalbeattie Star, who have already confirmed promotion, and almost certainly Newton Stewart. This leaves 9 teams guaranteed promotion from the West of Scotland Premier Division. The current top 9 consists of Troon, Cumnock, Auchinleck, Largs, Pollock, Hurlford, Johnston, Arthurlie and Drumchapel, but the licence problem appears again. Only Cumnock, Auchinleck and Pollock currently have licences, but Drumchapel, Johnston, Largs and Troon are in the final stages of getting their licence, along with Kirkintilloch, Whitlets Victoria and Beef. This leaves Hurlford and Arthurlie missing out as it stands, but Glenafton and Kilwinning have a licence, so would take their places. Of course, the South of Scotland not having teams to promote from a lower league has meant they are looking for new members, but the only one so far is Saltire City, who I have made a video about already, and will be getting a sequel at some point. The West, meanwhile, is currently looking for clubs, but nothing has been formally announced yet, but will need to find clubs to replace not just Lows going up to Tier 5, but also to replace 4th Division side BSC Glasgow, who folded at the end of March. Editing Callum here. Of course, after I finished making this video and having everything sorted, the West of Scotland League have put out a statement. They have announced that 5 clubs have been accepted into the league for season 2026-27, those being Annbank United, who were initially part of the juniors, but they actually left entirely instead of joining the West of Scotland League. Castle Milk have joined alongside Gartcosh United, Eddlewood and St Patrick's from Dumbarton, who play on the pitch like opposite the river from the actual Dumbarton Stadium, which is pretty cool. So yeah, thanks West of Scotland League, impeccable timing. The East, meanwhile, is also facing issues with clubs. Unlike the West seeing half the league getting promoted, only 2 teams from both the East Premier and the Midlands Premier are getting promoted, due to there being anywhere between 3 and 5 spaces being available. Hillerbeef Hawthorn are almost certainly going to win the division and earn promotion, while the battle for that second spot involves Camelin, Genefield Swifts and last year's winners Musselburgh. Thankfully, the only teams without a licence in this division are Glenrothes and Whitburn, who are nowhere near the promotion spots, so no issues there will arise. There will, however, be a club leaving the league due to being too successful. Bowness Athletic. Bowness Athletic have a strange history, having been formed as Linlithgow Thistle back in 2001, but moved to Bowness in 2019 to become Bowness United Juniors after Bowness United moved to the East of Scotland League. This lasted a season as during 2020 all the clubs moved into the senior pyramid and the club became Bowness Athletic. After multiple promotions and now sitting 6th in the Premier Division, the club has decided to fold as to avoid being in direct competition with Bowness United, with a statement announcing this adding, "We believe that the long-term interests of football in Bowness are best served by maintaining a single senior pathway within the town." A pretty noble reason to fold, I guess. The Midland League meanwhile has its own issues with clubs moving up a level. The top 2 clubs are currently Broughty Athletic and Dundee North End, neither of them holding a licence, but Broughty are in the process of getting one, so should be in the Lowland League East next season. The 2 clubs in the division with a licence currently, however, are Lochee United, who sit 5th, 4 points behind fellow licensed club Teaport, who you think would be the other club promoted should they finish higher up. Teaport, however, put out a statement at the end of March saying, "As a club, we are naturally ambitious and would welcome the opportunity to be part of a new setup. However, following a thorough financial assessment, it is clear that our current income levels fall significantly short of what would be required to compete sustainably at that level. Therefore, it is with considerable regret that should an invitation be extended, we would be unable to accept it if it places the club in a financially unsustainable position." Well, that settles it. Lochee United, if they get an invite, will be promoted, but it is a shame that a club has had to turn down promotion due to finances. So, will this change be a good thing for non-league teams? With it being more regionalised, teams no longer have to worry as much about travel costs and time. Brechin to Berwick is quicker and easier than Brechin to Wick, and clubs from Dundee, should they get promoted, also don't have to deal with that potential journey. Seriously, why did they make Dundee under the Highland region? It is nowhere near it. It should also theoretically make it easier for clubs to progress from tiers 10 through 6, with tiers 6 to 5 promotions having one less team to deal with in any promotion playoffs. Maybe they make relegation from the tier 5 leagues automatic should enough clubs be licensed. Unfortunately, we don't know the full layout yet. The issue, however, once again lies at promotion from tier 5 into the SPFL. Instead of it being a 3-way fight, it is now a 4-way fight, with it being a round-robin playoff between the 3 champions before they play Club 42. They really should make bottom of League 2 an automatic relegation spot, or to make it more fun, a 4-team round-robin playoff. But unless major change happens in the SPFL itself, then this is unfortunately always going to be a bottleneck. That's all for this video, and of course I hope you enjoyed it. Will these changes improve the pyramid? What new teams will we see entering the league soon? Let us know in the comments below. Channel memberships are of course available, those who have signed up are on screen now. Of course, liking, sharing and subscribing are all appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.